and at 3:30 p.m. Eastern Time in Tuscaloosa. It's the SEC on CBS game of the week. Crimson Tide hosting the Vols. What's going to be the most important? I mean, Tennessee, first of all, like one of the most important things is like, congratulations, you just got that awesome win against Texas A&M. It was really close. It was kind of an ugly game, but you came out on top. Now you've got to turn right around and you've got to show up to go play Alabama, which also did not play a very good game against Arkansas. Ends up coming out with the win. Shout out to all the gnats on cows' asses. Nick Saban with that good deep country talk right there. Tom, when you start to pick apart Alabama, Tennessee, what are the things that stand out the most to you?
There's the one key area that I will be focusing on, surprise, surprise, is the quarterback position in this one, because there was a lot of, hemming and hawing about Alabama's QB situation early in the year. But you know who has the second highest passing efficiency in the SEC behind Jaden Daniels this season? It's Jalen Milroe, because as Danny had, Danny's been on this for a while, just like literally the James Franklin skin is crawling watching Alabama, because they are just having Jalen chuck it deep, because that's what he's best at. And frankly, he's much better at it than Tennessee's quarterback, who is the guy that, we were supposed to be like, Joe Milton's just bombs all day because he's got the strongest arm in the world. Jalen's not only throwing it downfield more often than Joe Milton is, he's completing it downfield far more often than Joe Milton is. And I think that's going to be a key. But the problem that comes with that is, in order for routes to develop downfield, you need to have time to get there. And you're facing a Tennessee defense that is very good at getting pressure on opposing quarterbacks. And this is an Alabama offensive line that I think has improved in recent weeks, but is still not playing at an elite level. And that is going to be the thing. Can they give Jalen Milroe the time to hit those passes? Because Jalen does take a lot of sacks. And when he gets pressured and he runs around, he escapes, he can extend drives, and that's huge. But if you can keep him in the pocket and get to him, you can knock Alabama off schedule, because they really don't have much else. It's shots. And then hopefully, if we're effective doing that, our run game will open up in the second half when you have to account for it and kind of give us more space and slow down your pass rush. So that is going to be the most interesting aspect of this game to me, because Tennessee's defense, again, if you haven't paid close attention this year, because I know a lot of fans just kind of watch, they watch their team and they watch the big game. So if you're not a Tennessee fan and you're thinking this is the same team from last year, which was going to score 50 points per game and give up 42 points per game, it's not. The defense is far ahead of the offense with this year's Volunteers team. And that is going to be the one thing. If they knock Alabama off for a second straight season, it is going to be because they limited that offense and they got to Jalen Milroe time and time again.
Some of these Tennessee offensive performances look worse in successive weeks, right? Only scoring what they did on South Carolina offensively, because again, they had the pick six there. That looks worse, right? To do that in Knoxville. Only scoring what they did on Florida looks worse after you've seen some teams, Kentucky, South Carolina, move the ball on the Gators. So a lot of reason for skepticism about this offense. I'm fascinated to see what sort of answers Alabama has and what sort of changes they made to the offense compared to what they played last year. They have the benefit of hindsight of seeing Georgia go and dominate them in Athens after the game in Knoxville last year when Tennessee beat the Tide. So I would expect Nick Saban to kind of take a little bit of Kirby Smart's game plan. A lot of teams have played Tennessee with a bit of a lighter box this year and dare them to run. A&M did that some last week, and A&M's like rush lane discipline was not particularly good. Like they were not super gap sound, and Tennessee actually did run the ball on them pretty well. That's my thought, is like, how good can Tennessee run the football if they get those light box looks? Gerald Mincey, the right tackle, went down at the end of that Texas A&M game. Now, head coach Heupel said that he anticipates him being able to play. If he can't, let's flash back a month to the Swamp, because Mincey got a little thing going on, couldn't play in that ball game. They had to play the backup. Florida ate that kid alive. I mean, that and the center being out, Florida dominated them, and Milton had really no chance. So how badly can Alabama smoke Tennessee's offensive line? On the flip side, man, dude, Tennessee's got some real difference makers up front this year too. Alabama has largely been telling Milroe, like, don't put the ball in jeopardy. It's either like swing screens or just total shot plays, to Tom's point. I think Bama's defense is still a different level than what Tennessee has on defense. And you're playing the game, in Tuscaloosa. So I'm going to take the Tide. But man, like, these are kind of similar teams, right? Not a lot of sustained passing game. They prefer to run it. The run games have been sort of mixed results. Tennessee had good yardage last week, obviously, but it's a trade-off, right? A&M was going to let them run some, but how many offensive points did they score? Not many. I mean, it was basically you had the punt return and the turnover deep in A&M territory. So I'm watching the lines, man. I think both cover each other pretty well.
26-20 and 20-13. Those are each of their wins against Texas A&M.
Yeah.
They played the same game. I mean, obviously it wasn't the same game, but it's just like, I don't see anything close to the point total that we saw last year in Knoxville. And shout out for Nick Saban for the knee slapper of the week, saying that he doesn't see much of a difference between Hendon Hooker and Joe Milton. I don't know if that's classic Saban gassing him up. I don't know if that's Saban just talking about like schematically some of the formations or the splits, but that ain't quarterback performance. That's for sure.
Yeah, no, they're very different. Hendon Hooker can actually hit his target. Joe Milton might hit his target. That's really the
moves in the pocket
difference.
better, manipulates a defense better. Listen, Cody, you don't ask for Fat Joe Milton, all right? I might need to add something else other than lean back though. Just let y'all know exactly how deep my Fat Joe.
I was gonna say this game doesn't feature Fat Joe Milton. This game features just regular skinny old Joe Milton. It's not the fat version.
Yeah.
Did Saban make any comments on the difference between Darnell Wright, who was a top 10 pick, and Tennessee's other offensive lineman? Because that's a difference this year.
Yes,
I think it's a bigger difference than Hooker to Milton.
And I think that Alabama's defense. Do you think Alabama's defense is better right now than it was last year against Tennessee?
Yes,
I think so too.
Yes.
I mean, they've needed it to be better for their overall team success, but I think that we've got enough of a body of work to say, no, like Alabama's defense isn't just talented players. It's talented players that are executing a good game plan and playing well. Like I think that Alabama's defense is one of the best in the country. And last year it was a team with a lot of talented players who can make individual plays, like Will Anderson or like Dallas Turner, who's obviously still around. But as a unit, I did not think they were as sound as they've been so far this year.
This is a game like on Monday and upon further review, I said that the SEC is just the Big Ten with better defensive lines. This game is going to be an example of what I'm talking about because both of these defenses are further along this year than their offenses. And you are going to see that on display in this game. Both defenses are going to play well. It's just going to come down to which offense happens to make more big plays. That's really what this will be. And it's not going to be the back and forth tennis match that we saw last year. It's probably going to be the winning team might get 30. That's not to say we're going to get like a 17-14 game, but it is going to be much more field position. Don't screw up. And then maybe we hit the shot because they are, again, both of these teams offensively, Jalen Milroe, they have to play to it because that's his strength. And Tennessee's entire philosophy is they're going to take shots and whoever hits them more often or not is going to end up winning.